Hello and welcome to Solent Sports News. I'm Liu Chin with your 4:30 bulletin. Ruben Sellers and Southampton are under major pressure coming off the back of their 16th defeat of the season on Saturday. Live at the St. Mary's Stadium is our correspondent Oliver Denning with more.
Yes, Liu, I'm here outside St. Mary's Stadium, where at Southampton it's been a constant state of transition. Off the back of a loss versus Leeds United, Saints fans need to temper their expectations despite that famous win at Stamford Bridge. However, newly permanent manager Ruben Sellers has done a much better job at getting those fans on side compared to previous manager Nathan Jones.
To be honest with them and tell them what I expect, but I also need to demand the best from them. So it's not about I'm giving, it's about them putting things together. And I think this group needed this booster to continue, and this team is alive and needs to be alive for the rest of the season, needs to perform together.
Well, I think Ruben Sellers has been handed a poison chalice, really. The club's in a very difficult situation. He's stuck with the squad he's got. He can't buy any new players in. He's just got to try and dig them out of this situation. I think it's very, very difficult. But I think he's probably as good as any other manager that they can get at the moment. So I think probably they should give him the chance and see what he can do.
Negative feelings from the fans appear to be towards the Sports Republic ownership group. This is due to many turmoils during their reign, which includes the backing of manager Nathan Jones, despite sacking him a week later.
Just got it so wrong. I mean, yes, they spent money, but they didn't get Ralph a striker, got Nathan Jones. I think a blind man could have seen that wasn't going to work. So I'm not convinced by their spending money, but that's not a good thing for me.
Despite these negative feelings around the club, the fans will need to be united with players to avoid relegation, as they are the second odds-on favourites to go down. Back to you, Liu.
Thanks, Ollie. Earlier in the day, I spoke with Daily Echo reporter Alfie House to get further insight into the Ruben Sellers appointment.
I think if you'd have told people at the start of the season that Ruben Sellers was going to end up the permanent manager, people would probably tell you that it's been a bit of a disaster season. I think, to be fair, it has been that way. But ultimately, with Nathan Jones, they wanted to go something completely opposite from that. It was 3 months of climbing down the table, annoying fans. They wanted to go with somebody who knows the players well, who knows how to get them ticking, and that is what Ruben Sellers is.
Manchester United picked up their first trophy under Erik ten Hag with a 2-0 win over Newcastle in yesterday's Carabao Cup final. In an impressive transitional season for the club, they sit third in the table, and the Dutch manager has vowed to continue winning trophies.
We are on a good pathway. You are in a good direction. It's one cup, and it's February, but it shows we are in the right direction. And so this has to be the inspiration.
Ahead of the game at Wembley, it was the Newcastle supporters who revelled in their club's first final appearance since 1999. Thousands of Geordies travelled to the capital on Saturday and revelled in the pre-match festivities. The Magpies are still yet to win a domestic trophy since 1955. Tottenham dealt another blow for Graham Potter's Chelsea future. They beat the Blues 2-0 thanks to second-half goals from Oliver Skipp and Harry Kane. Potter has endured a tough start to his Chelsea reign and understands why the fans are frustrated with results.
Our supporters have been, I would say, very fair, and they've supported the team. I have absolutely no complaints with the supporters. They're entitled to be frustrated and upset and angry with the results that we've got.
Celtic have won the Scottish Cup final after beating Old Firm rival Rangers yesterday. The current league leaders beat the Ibrox side 2-1 at Hampden Park, with current SPFL top scorer Kyogo Furuhashi getting both goals for his side. Time for some cricket updates now. England have found their way back in the game at Wellington. Williamson's 26th Test century helped the hosts hold fort for a while as he became their top run scorer in Tests. England finished day 4 on 48 for 1, needing 210 more to win on the final day. Can they chase this down the Bazball way? We'll get to know about that as the game resumes at 10 p.m. tonight. Australian women's cricket team are crowned World T20 champions for a staggering 6th time. Batting first, the Aussies managed a modest score of 156 runs. In reply, the host South Africa, who were playing in their first ever World Cup final, fell short by 19 runs as Australia successfully defended their world crown. Beth Mooney was awarded Player of the Match for her unbeaten 74 runs. Jake Paul and Tommy Fury locked horns last night, with Fury getting the better of his rival via a split decision. The Briton was easily the busier boxer, landing more accurate punches than the social media star. Fury admitted he was surprised at the skill and bravery of Paul.
Really good fight, really enjoyable, solid 8 rounds in the bank. Jake was a tough kid, you know, he took a lot of good shots and he was still there, so credit to himself. You know, he didn't have to take this fight, he could have fought anybody he wanted to. A lot of easier challenges, but he wanted to test himself, so I can respect that.
Cameron Norrie won his 5th ATP title yesterday. The British #1 beat world #2 Carlos Alcaraz in the Rio Open. Norrie lost the first set 7-5 and then went on to beat the Spaniard in the following sets 6-4, 7-5. The world #13 got his revenge after losing to Alcaraz last week in the final in Argentina. Andy Murray was beaten by Daniil Medvedev in the ATP Tour final on Saturday. The Russian 3rd seed beat Murray 6-4, 6-4 to clinch his 2nd title in less than a week. Murray has since pulled out of the Dubai Championship to recover in time for Indian Wells next week. 22-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic has surpassed Steffi Graf's record for the most weeks as #1. The Serbian entered his 378th week at the top of the men's rankings. Djokovic returned to the top after winning record 10th Australian Open in January. Wales have suffered their worst start in the Six Nations tournament since 2007. They lost 20-10 to England at the weekend, marking their 12th loss in the last 15 games and their 3rd successive Six Nations defeat. Head coach Warren Gatland said that accuracy was a problem for his side.
Oh, I think we can be critical of ourselves in terms of we created probably a lot of problems for ourselves by not being accurate in sort of key and critical moments. You know, that's what Test match rugby is all about.
There's no shortage of innovations in the city of Southampton. A game introduced from the neighborhood called Visosport has been taken quite a step in the town. Our correspondent Neil went on an adventure to find out more about this new and an unknown sport.
It may seem to be another indoor sport, but it is not any other traditional sport that we know. In fact, incredibly enough, it's a game homegrown and made in Southampton. An unknown game which has seen people from different backgrounds come together under one roof to enjoy a time where they switch off from their daily lives. I spoke to the man who gave birth to this innovative idea, Mr. Paul Woodford, on how did he come up with this idea and what is Visosport.
Yeah, so Visosport is a brand new sport to try and make sport fun and engaging for everyone, whatever their level. So if you're really good at sport, it makes it really challenging. If you're not so good at sport, it makes it really easy and fun for you to take part in. So what it is it's a carousel of lots of little fun and engaging games which are based around sport, but they're not one individual sport. And each of the games are differentiated to make sure everyone can compete and enjoy themselves at their own level. Most sessions have drills which are repetitive and quite boring. So I find games are really fun because they make people enjoy sport, and also they help you learn how to do things without actually being told what to do by the coach.
I got the opportunity to catch up with few residents of Southampton who have been active participants of Visosport on how they feel about this new game and how has it impacted their lives.
Having fun, just playing games, being a bit silly, not being overly competitive. It feels much more relaxed than going to a gym or a sports club.
Yeah, about 6 months now. Yeah, get a bit of exercise, get out, meet some people. It's quite interesting, the variety of different people we come across. Different games every week, the rules, which people tend to ignore.
Generally, I love sport anyway, but I like the fact that you can come out here and you can take part in a team, and you can get a chance to meet other people, and there's a variation of different games that are played as part of a team. There's instructions, and also being partially sighted, I just felt it's been really adaptable to suit me, like when they use the coloured balls that allow me to see the ball, and whenever a team member's throwing a ball at me, they always call out my name, so I'm always ready to be able to participate in the games because they make it adaptable to suit me.
Young and the old, battling it out with real intent. It may seem from a distance a very serious game, yet the laughters and the joy is all what they take back home. Viso Sport is taking baby steps from the neighbourhood, but it's fair to say it might as well be a thing for the future. This is Neil from Southampton for Solent Sports News.
So with me in studio today, we do have the man himself, Paul. Paul, how exactly did you come up with this idea of Viso Sport?
Well, when I was younger playing sport, and also when I was there involved in coaching and education, I found that sport can actually be quite boring when you're there taking part in some of the sessions. So I thought, well, sport is such a fun and enjoyable thing, and it's also inaccessible to many parts of the community who find it quite an intimidating environment. So I thought, well, I really enjoy games and I enjoy inventing games. So I decided to invent a number of games which help people to understand more about sport and physical activity and actually enjoy it rather than it being more of an imposition.
Yeah, absolutely understood. And how has the response been from people who have come into Viso Sport and taken part in the sessions?
Well, especially when you have a new sport, it can be quite intimidating for people to start. But those people who've braved and come along to the sessions, you see them when they start and they look a little bit intimidated, something new, they're not so sure about it. But when they actually get going, within about 10 seconds, people are laughing, they're joking, and they're really getting involved. Because Viso Sport's all about fun. It's all about enjoyment and making sport something which everyone wants to be taking part in, not just those who are elite athletes.
Yeah. And we've heard so much about Viso Sport now, but what's the plan for Viso Sport? Where do you plan to take it in the future?
Well, Viso Sport's all about having fun, so we want everyone to have fun. We'd love to expand it to different parts of the country and even further afield. We'd also love to be able to talk to many other sports about trying to combine some of the ideas that we've got to try and help more people around.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Paul, for your time, and all the best with Viso Sport. And finally, last week, we briefly spoke about the former story of a Solent student who is off to the Special Olympics. Our reporter Kyle has more on the story.
Is Ben Matthews, who is the Programme Development Manager and most recently the new head coach for Special Olympics Great Britain's Unified Football team. But what is Unified Football?
Unified football is something extremely unique to Special Olympics. It's a trademark Special Olympics programme. In disability sport, there's a lot of activities like pan disability, or there's specific sessions for specific disabilities. Special Olympics almost goes one step beyond that by bringing together people with intellectual disabilities and without intellectual disabilities together on the same team. The purpose is really simple. It's to promote social inclusion, to build friendships, and to showcase to the world that people with intellectual disabilities are no different to people without intellectual disabilities.
Ben started his journey with Special Olympics during his time studying in America, becoming the head coach of multiple local sports teams, and wanted to stay involved when he came back to the UK.
I knew I wanted to stay involved with Special Olympics. It almost became my one passion. So I got involved doing a placement as I was studying for my Masters. I stayed on board after COVID. I was promoted into a few additional roles where I'm now as Programme Development Manager. And then this opportunity to become the head coach for the World Games team came along, and I jumped at it. It's something that I've wanted to do for the past 9 years since I first got involved, and to where I started as a unified football coach to now going at a local level to now going to the World Games is something pretty special.
Representing your country is a dream for most in any sport. So how does it feel for Ben to represent his country as a head coach at the Special Olympics?
Yeah, it's a huge honour. It's something that I don't take lightly. Like I said, it's something I've dreamt of doing for a long time now. To represent your country in anything is quite special, but to do it for something that I'm so passionate about as a coach, it is fantastic. So, for me, it's nothing to do with me. It's about providing our athletes and our unified partners with the opportunity for them to represent their country.
Representing their country at the 2023 Games will be a moment in history for everyone on the unified football team.
We've actually never submitted a unified football team to the World Games. We had a traditional football team that went to the last World Games, which was in Abu Dhabi in 2019. Those guys won gold. They beat Australia in the final with a great strike to win it. In unified sports, is something that is growing massively across the world through Special Olympics programmes, and for us in GB, we really see it as a priority area for us to grow, purely because it does break down barriers for people with and without intellectual disabilities.
With the competition in Berlin just a few months away, what is Ben hoping to achieve with this team at the Summer Games?
You know, I'd love to stand here and say we're going to go for the gold, and don't get me wrong, our team are extremely competitive and we are going for the gold. They told me that at our last training weekend. But ultimately, for me as a coach, it's about providing these athletes with the experience, the lifelong memories that they're going to have from this Games. If we win gold, fantastic. I mean, I'm never going to turn that down. But for us to actually go out there and showcase to the world the power of unified sports, and for them just to really have the best experience they can, working as hard as they can in the Games, and we'll go out there and see what we can achieve. But for me, it's really seeing their smiles on their faces, knowing that they've achieved something that people told them was never possible, and that's really our goal.
The unified football team will start their training in just a couple of weeks for the Games, so let's hope they train well and can bring back that gold medal. Kyle Full, Solent Sports News.
To find out more about unified sports and Special Olympics GB, you can visit their website at www.specialolympics.org or www.specialolympics.org.uk. That's it for today. Thank you for watching Solent Sports News.